योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्।
The next asana that we will see in this segment on sitting asanas is Upavishta Konasana. Upavishta means sitting and Konam means angle. This is a seated asana where the legs are spread out at an angle. It makes an angular position between the two legs. Upavishta Konasana brings a lot of softness to the abdomen and groins. Now we will see how the pose can be done. We will now see how to do Upavishta Konasana. Like with all seated poses, we start from Dandasana. Rolling the thighs inward, pressing the thigh down, extending the calf muscle away, extending the inner ankles sharply. The entire length of the leg should be firmly placed on the ground, against which the spine should lift active and tall. You have to roll the shoulders wide, you have to roll the collarbones wide, raise the sternum up. So pressing the thighs, pressing the palms down, you have to give a good lift to the chest and the entire frontal surface of the spine. From there, you will have to open your legs apart, one leg at a time. For those who are stiff, you will have to open your legs to around 4.5 feet. You will have to endeavor to do that. And for those who are hyper flexible, you should be wary that you're not going with your legs too wide. This is a pose in which you're trying to give a soft stretch to the entire organs of the lower abdomen, but you're not trying to force a stretch. There is a difference. For those who are stiff, usually the ligaments of the hip, pelvis, the joints and the groin don't open easily. For them, the minimum opening is going to be 4.5 feet. For people where it's so elastic that it doesn't have enough strength and resistance, it's just going to fall wide. For them, it has to be within 4.5 feet and not wider. Pressing the palm, once again anteriorly, you have to raise the entire spine up, roll the shoulders back, widen the collarbone, pull the back ribs in and move the armpit back to front. The sides of the body should stand tall. You're not going to drop the side of the body. Pressing the thigh, you will have to lift the sides of the body against the thigh. Now we'll move to the leg. As far as the groins are concerned, the direction of movement of groin is in to out. That will happen only when you consciously relax the groin. As long as you're tensing the groin and fighting to pry it open, it may not be a successful release of the groin. In order for the groin to open, you will have to take your mind in there, consciously relax the groin while at the same time keep the spine well lifted. In the leg, you will have to make sure that the inner thigh is well elongated. Because the inner thigh is connected to the inner ankle, usually when a person is sitting, the leg will always fold this way, where the inner ankle shortens and the outer ankle lengthens. Because of the habitual shortening of the inner ankle, the entire strength or the ability to open the inner thigh over time habitually because of our lifestyle diminishes. You will have to lengthen from the inner ankle via the arch actively forward. Outer ankle also remains long, so you'll have to think of train tracks. Just like two tracks run parallel, the two ankles will run parallel, upon which the heel will remain well extended so that this bottom tendon gets a good stretch. From there, you will have to make sure that the big toe mound points forward and the outer edge of the foot has a slight backward roll. This backward roll connects with the femur or thigh. So for the activity of the thigh, that slight backward roll. As far as the thigh is concerned, it should be centrally aligned. Neither is it going to drop out like this, nor is it going to fold in front. The thigh should be centrally aligned and pressed down. The entire surface of the knee should be pressed down in a way that the back of the knee touches the floor. It's not about banging the knee hard. It's about really experiencing a complete stretch of the knee where the back ligaments, the cruciate, the ligaments and the tendons experience a stretch by which the knee is able to descend to the floor. So squaring the thigh, keeping the leg medially aligned, the entire body should be able to lift up as if a plant is rooted and grows upon that. We will have to root the thigh and give the spine a good lift. This is with the hands initially by the sides of the hip behind the buttock, where you're able to roll the shoulders back, pull the back ribs in and raise the chest up. This is Upavishta Konasana. I would like to add one more detail in Upavishta Konasana. When a person is really trying hard to keep the spine lifted, it's very common that the spine is not thought of in its entirety. We tend to push the chest forward and upward, and that kind of pinches the lumbar in, and so the lumbar goes in, the chest lifts upward, and there, as you see, the tailbone has exited out. The tailbone has to be inside with the rest of the spine. It's not about breaking the chest forward, breaking the lumbar into a dent and pushing the tailbone out. You see there is this incline, the way my hand is, the tailbone is out and the lumbar is pinching in. This happens when a person is training the lumbar to lift the chest up. That shouldn't happen. As we always say, the abdomen should be moved in the direction of the spine, such that the shoulder is in line with the buttock. Then keeping the sacrum tailbone in a line tall, the chest should be lifted. While that happens, you're not really pushing the lumbar in. The verticality of the sacrum and tailbone must be there as the chest raises up. The other thing is, it's about engaging the tailbone itself. Just like when you go to Upavishta Konasana, you open the legs wide and raise the chest up, you relax the groins. But to make sure the tailbone has been engaged, the sacrum has been engaged, the practitioner has to press the hand, lightly lift the buttock up and move in with the tailbone, raise the chest up. So the width of the leg is acquired by engaging the tailbone, not pushing the tailbone out. This is the wrong action. The tailbone sacrum should be vertical, shoulders in line with it, tailbone engaged, and then the chest should be lifted. This is one action we need to be clear about. In both Upavishta Konasana and Baddha Konasana, we have many variations. In fact, in all of the sitting poses, we have variations with our arms. The arms can be holding the feet in a concave back position, and that is a very important precursor for forward bends. The spine should be built in a concave back position. That is one of the pivotal uses of sitting poses as well. Apart from that, the hands could be in Namaskarasana, in Urdhva Namaskarasana, in Urdhva Hastasana, in Baddhangulyasana, all of the variations we've seen before in Tadasana. This is Padangushta Upavishta Konasana, one of the major variations before Upavishta Konasana goes into a forward bend called Adhomukha Upavishta Konasana. This concave back position is a critical position that must be practiced regularly before approaching forward bends. These concave back positions are unique to all standing and sitting poses where the spine is etched in a concave back position. That must be noted. We first start with the legs in a half bend position. There, Putting the right hand below your right buttock, pulling the buttock out, sitting, finding the buttock bone. Similarly, inserting the left hand under the left buttock, pulling the buttock away from the sacrum, then sitting on the buttock bone. Know where the buttock bone is for sure. The idea that this is the ischial bones must be absolutely known. From there, the legs are extended in Dandasana and then opened one after another in Upavishta Konasana. When the legs are opened in Upavishta Konasana, the fact that the legs open wider and that you may lose sense of the buttock bone is surely there. And so right from the point where you sit on the buttock bone and open the leg to Upavishta Konasana, you must be conscious that you're building with the foundation of the buttock bone. So sitting on the ischium, knowing where the buttock bone is, raise the spine anteriorly upward. Again, consciously planting yourself on the buttock bone, reach both your hands such that your forefinger and thumb wrap around the big toe. As you do that, it's very common to see a student fall away from the buttock bone onto the frontal edge of the thigh, losing the rooting that the buttock bone originally gave. So you have to make sure you are softening the groin and pushing the groin from in to out so that you remain on the buttock bone. Again, let me show you where the buttock bone is lost and a person falls forward will look like that. When you push the buttock bone down, then the spine is actually not falling. It actually lifts up. Here, strongly holding your hands around your feet, you have to build the back ribs in and raise the sternum up such that as the back ribs come in and the sternum raises up, the anterior surface of the spine should open, causing you to extend the chin and look upward. So the whole of the anterior spine opens and that proceeds to the cervical spine from which the chin extends. As the throat extends, as the sternum raises up, the back ribs should be further pushed in a concave back position. Here, we've almost built a triangle with one hand holding the limb on either side, the leg pressed down and the sides of the body raised up. We have a triangle here and a triangle there. Both sides of the triangle must be pushed. You're going to press the thigh down, raise the side body up, hold the hands, raise the side body up until this is a straight limb with locked elbows. This is a straight limb with locked knees and the body spine stands tall on top of it. Finishing it, you will release your hand and join your legs back in Dandasana. This variation that we saw now again is Padangushta Upavishta Konasana. It's very common for people who have tight hamstrings as well as paraspinal muscles to feel that they are not able to go to Upavishta Konasana completely. The spine sinks and the legs remain bent like this. The legs will stretch out and then they'll hang in the pose like this, almost struggling to press the feet at the same time raise the spine. I'll be handling both these sections in two different parts, first looking at the leg. But I'd like to address that both of it is connected. When the hamstrings are tight, the spine sinks and the legs cannot be pressed. When the paraspinals are tight, it reflects in the bending of the legs and the spine cannot be straightened. It is a connectedness. Now I'll be handling the section on the legs. Opening your legs to Upavishta Konasana. For people whose legs are bent and they're not able to place their legs firmly on the ground, you may take a belt and wrap it around the arch of the foot. Again, it's not anywhere, it goes around the arch of the foot. Now, relax your legs. When usually you are sitting, as I mentioned before, the inner ankles are less active. For some people, because of habitual lifestyle conditions, the inner ankle shortens like this. So you have to put the belt around the arch. You will have to pull the belt and pull the outer edge of the foot a little more in the way that the inner ankle opens. Again, the foot is falling, relaxed foot. You are pulling the belt and then driving the outer side of the foot a little more so that you get a good opening on this inner ankle side of the leg. With that, you will have to hold the belt on both sides. First, this adjustment of the foot can even be done a little later, but first, holding the foot, you will have to pull the strands of the belt on both sides until this pulling of the belt is so powerful that it causes the calf muscle to stretch and spread and it causes the leg to descend. So, once again, when you are sitting where the legs are bent, if I were to pull my leg, it causes my leg to straighten. In the same way, she has to pull in a way that it causes the leg to straighten. Upon this, the practitioner has to pressurize the thigh and lift the spine up. This is a way of using the belt to straighten the legs and to make the hamstrings participate. We discussed the previous position where there were two factors that a student would find difficult in Upavishta Konasana. One is keeping the knees pressed and at the same time lifting the spine. With the belt variations, we showed you how to keep the leg down and from falling while at the same time keeping the spine erect. But here, addressing the profile of the spine itself, if the spine sinks so much that a practitioner finds it impossible to lift up, then the first thing you should do is use height to sit on. We take a bolster and we're now keeping the bolster against a pillar. Then the practitioner will be sitting on the bolster in such a way that the buttock climbs up on the wall. You will have to lift the buttock, climb and slide along the wall so that the lower back for sure remains fixed. You're not going to just put yourself against the wall and stretch your leg out. You have to climb the buttock on the wall, keep it fixed and slide down so that when you've landed, the lower back, as you can see, remains concretely touching the wall. At this point, you're going to open your legs to the side in Upavishta Konasana. The minute you sit on height, there is a separation between the leg and the spine. It is not a case where the legs and thighs are rising up and causing the spine to collapse, nor is the spine buckling down in the direction of the leg. There is a clear-cut separation where the thigh slides down from the bolster and where the chest lifts up. Using the alignment of the pillar, you can make sure that the lower back touches the wall. You raise the spine anteriorly as if you can see it climbing up the surface of the pillar. You have to cut the shoulders back deep such that the collarbones are kept wide. As you can see, there's a starkly different picture where the spine is buckling. The minute you use a height and align the spine to a pillar, the height gives the spine one single point of elevation. Upon that elevation, the raise of the spine can be built and aligned to the parallel surface of a wall. This is a way by which a practitioner who is not able to sit up with the spine may use the bolsters as well as a wall's assistance. Now we are showing a typical case of a student who finds sitting in Upavishta Konasana difficult. So, stretching the legs out in Dandasana, you will be opening one leg after the other in Upavishta Konasana. And you see, as the student opens the leg, first the leg doesn't give. It doesn't go into the opening of Upavishta Konasana. There is a struggle for that side, that hip to open. The second is, there is the medial alignment of the leg is thrown. As you can see, the foot is falling down and there is a collapse of the chest. This is the typical profile of a student who is not able to do Upavishta Konasana. Here we will see how props can be used to address this situation of the legs and of the spine in totality. For a person of this profile, where the spine as well as the legs and hips are difficult to work, we will see how the combined use of props can help him. Now, we are raising the height to 2 bolsters so that the spine can get that extra elevation to raise. So, after that, the person will then use a long belt, string it across both arches of feet, such that the belt goes over the arch on one foot and then over the arch of the other foot. Now, the minute we put the belt, I would like you to note that that fallen foot is then centrally aligned. It doesn't remain fallen anymore. And then from keeping the hands on the sides of the bolster, you press off your hand and engage your spine in such a way that that extra elevation gives the access to the spine in the first place. Whether the spine is fully engaged to the most upright position or not is the second quality to think about. But the first factor is pressing the palm. Are we able to mobilize the spine? Press the palm, sharply mobilize the spine. Take the dorsal in, raise the chest up. As you can see, there is some mobility to the spine while at the same time keeping the legs medially aligned. Here, the thigh remains pressed and the entire structure of the leg is medial, it's not falling out or in. Here then, the practitioner can use 2 mid-level wall ropes to hold the wall rope and then suck the dorsal spine sharply in. As you can see, the wall rope gives a little more access to the dorsal spine. The height gives a separation from which the spine can raise and the legs can descend. The belt gives an ability to keep the legs straight and not falling to the side. This is the way props can be combined to constantly make a pose evolve in a practitioner. We now saw the classical pose Upavishta Konasana as well as the prop assisted variations of the same. Both Upavishta Konasana and Baddha Konasana are wide-legged poses where the knees fall by the sides of the hip. This relaxes the abdomen and brings softness into the groin as well as flushes a lot of blood into the lower abdomen. These asanas are particularly useful for irregularities in the menstrual cycle as well as prostate problems in men. This is particularly the case when these asanas are combined into Shirshasana and Sarvangasana cycles. Upavishta Konasana is also particularly useful for tight hamstrings and therefore can be regularly practiced by people who experience inconveniences, tightness and pulls in the hamstring. For kidney conditions as well as urinary tract conditions, Upavishta Konasana can be a boon. There are several variations in the practice of both Baddha Konasana and Upavishta Konasana. There are variations in which these poses are combined into forward bend, twist, back bends, standing poses as well as restorative poses. The reason is the benefits of these poses are plentiful when they are combined in particular ways. In the next upcoming section, we will see Virasana, which is the final asana in the Upavishta or seated position. Thank you.